Hello and welcome to Melissa's Perspective. It's a Christian perspective on the movie On Golden Pond. In the movie, there are two main characters, Norman and Ethel, and the two of them are staying on Golden Pond through the summer in their cabin. Ethel is in her 60s and Norman is in his 70s, and they're learning what those new norms are for people in their 60s and 70s. Things that were easy aren't coming so easy for them. And they also had a daughter named Chelsea, and Chelsea comes to visit them on Golden Pond with her new boyfriend, Bill. And Bill has a son named Billy from another relationship. And when Chelsea is leaving, they decide to leave Billy with Ethel and Norman. The hard-nosed teenager learns how to fish, to do chores, and at the end of the movie comes to love Norman and Ethel, and the two of them love having him there as well. Chelsea comes at the end to pick Billy Jr. up, and she complains about the relationship she has with her father, who is hard to get along with. And when she is doing that, Ethel says, "Chelsea, life is too short. You need to move on. Patch up the relationship with your dad." And the movie ends with three of them working together on that patchwork. And so what issues and outside influences are being faced by this family? The issues that they are facing are the strained relationship between Chelsea and Norman. The other thing that comes up is the amount of work that Ethel has to do as the mom, the caretaker, the houseworker, and she also is taking care of Norman with his issues that are coming up, like memory loss and things that he couldn't do before, or could do before, he now can't, and she's picking up the extra because of that. How does the family deal with these outside influences? They struggle. Through the movie, Ethel's trying to figure out how she's going to help Norman with the new things that are coming up. He got lost in the woods, and she had to comfort him and help him to remember the right way to go. They worked on their relationship between Norman and Chelsea, and Ethel again was in the middle of that, helping them to patch things up, to move on, to forgive. And they really worked on those things throughout the movie, but they did work together as a team, as a family unit. How were family roles determined? They seemed to be determined more by Norman. He was the head of the household. He made the decisions. He was in charge. And Ethel was the caretaker, the housekeeper. She made sure Chelsea was doing okay. She filled the mother role. And then Chelsea was there as a child, kind of taking up space, there to be seen, not always heard. And she really took on that child role of just fitting in where she needed to fit in. How were family decisions made? They made their decisions together. Norman made most of the decisions, but Ethel seemed like she was the one that would come to the decision and then help Norman to get there. So she was really behind the decision that was made and had Norman feel like he made the decision himself. And Chelsea as a child didn't really make the decisions. It was more of a teamwork between Norman and Ethel. How does this disagree or agree with Scripture? Ephesians 5 verses 25 says, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church." And throughout the movie, you really see the relationship between Norman and Ethel, and the two of them working together. You can tell that they care deeply about each other. They're always there to support each other. They comfort each other when they need to. And the family unit really is very tight. Norman is the head of the household, and he takes on that role, and Ethel really supports him with everything. And they really go with scripture in those points. They do also show how sin can come in and stir things up within the family, create disagreements, and it shows how they work through that as the family unit and become stronger in the end because of it. How does a family resolve issues that are being faced? They work through those issues together. Their teamwork. In The Way We Really Are, Stephanie Coontz explains in her book that when men do not step in and do the housework and do the caretaker, it really puts a strain onto the relationship, onto the wife, and she has to step up and do a lot more. And she also talked about how men that are married don't always step into those roles, and they maybe do less housework than others. And you could definitely tell that in this relationship. Ethel did a lot of everything. She carried the firewood. She had to get food ready. She took care of Chelsea. When Chelsea was complaining through the whole movie about her relationship with their dad, Ethel was there to listen. You could tell Norman was the one that was fishing. He did all the fun stuff, the leisure stuff, and Ethel did a lot of the work. And you could tell the strain on the relationship because of that. And it also put hardships on the relationship between Ethel and Chelsea and Norman, and a lot of those relationships that could have been stronger, but they weren't because of the roles that everyone was trying to fit into. So in the end, they worked through it eventually together, and Ethel told Chelsea, you need to fix this relationship because he's not getting any younger. You don't want to regret things. You need to move on and forgive, which is such a scripture-based idea, I guess, is forgiveness and to move on. And no matter how many times somebody sins against you, you forgive them. And because God forgives us each and every day, over and over and over. And that's what ended up happening in the end, is they forgave each other, moved on, hugged, and then talked about what their future plans were. How were they going to strengthen this relationship? Where were they going to meet again and build that relationship? What resources and tools does a family employ? One of the outside resources that they used was actually a mailman who knew the family throughout the whole movie, grew up with Chelsea, and kind of was her rock throughout her childhood, and you could tell that throughout the movie. And Ethel used Charlie to help her with Norman when she needed it. He was an outside resource that came in when he was needed, helped the family, and wasn't expecting anything in return, just there to be helpful. And then the other resource that they didn't think that they were using was Billy Jr. He came in and kind of revived the family, and Ethel and Norman took on the parent relationship again, and it brought them back to when they had Chelsea. And throughout that, they realized that they probably could have done things differently with Chelsea, and used that relationship with Billy Jr. to work on things that they maybe missed with Chelsea and holes that needed to be filled. And it was a good thing and used as a tool, even though they may not have realized it was a tool. It was a relationship tool for them. Were the issues being faced by the family resolved in a successful manner for the family? Yes, like I said, they showed forgiveness. They hugged in the end, moved on, and really supported each other through the whole thing, it was a good movie to see the family come together and work together in the end, which you don't often see now in movies. Should I recommend it? I would say if you are an adult, I think this is a great movie to watch. It does have some cuss words in it, and he uses it for humor, which it's funny, but at the same time, if you're with your kids, you might have some extra explaining to do. I would maybe watch it with teenagers and then explain, there's some words in here that we don't use. They use it for humor. And if you're able to explain it, it's a great movie. Like I said, as an adult, I think it's just a good reminder of what a positive couple can look like, and also those things that can come up as you're growing old together, what things may come up, what issues you may have, and how to look at your parenting too, and maybe some holes that you have as a parent that can step up and be filled, and how can you use the Bible to do that and fill those holes and work with your kids so that you don't have that strained relationship that needs to be repaired, but you have a strong relationship with your kids that you can carry them through adulthood, and when they have their own grandkids, you have a good relationship with them as well. So I definitely recommend the movie to adults, and with your own opinion, maybe pass it on to your kids. So thank you so much. Have a great night.